Precious Plants for the Precious Mum is a fantastic program. It gives school kids and families an opportunity to become familiar with threatened plants and threatened species in our local area, and to not only become familiar but to get an opportunity to be part of the solution. So this is a lovely opportunity to take one of these precious plants home to your mum or a guardian or somebody that's really special in your life this weekend when we're celebrating Mother's Day, and pop that plant in the garden or in a pot, and then in a few months' time you might be seeing some of those beautiful daisy flowers. So this particular plant, the silver daisy bush, is nationally vulnerable. It occurs in around this area, and it's a really important plant in some of the habitats that you would be familiar with, some of the bushlands that you would be familiar with in your own backyards. The silver daisy bush is a really, really lovely plant. It's just got the most gorgeous foliage, but the flowers, so it flowers between August and October, and it's just got a beautiful, beautiful daisy flower, the classic daisy flower, big white petals and beautiful yellow centre. And it's a really important plant at that time of year out in the bushland. It provides really lovely pollen for the insects that are around. So it's a beautiful plant, but it's also an important part of the biodiversity through this area. And I see biodiversity as every component is really, really important, and you want to protect every single component. I guess it's like a car. If you lose certain bits of the car, maybe it'll keep going. If you take the seats out, you could probably still drive it, but if you lose the steering wheel, then you can't drive it. And we don't know which bits of our parts of our biodiversity might mean that it becomes completely broken. So it's really important that we protect every single plant and animal that we have, and those plants and animals that are really struggling, our threatened plants and animals, we really need to make sure that we keep those in the system as well. The silver daisy bush, or Alaria panosa, which is its scientific name, is threatened because the areas that it used to occur have been taken away from it. So the silver daisy bush used to occur all the way from down in the coastal area of Goolwa all the way up to the Flinders. So it occurred along a really big, broad area. But now it's mostly found on little roadsides or tiny little bushy reserves. And so there's not many of the individual plants left. So some of the things that we're doing to help the silver daisy bush, and also other community groups around the region are helping with this as well, is that we're growing up lots of silver daisy bush and putting them into more secure areas. So off roadsides and into some bigger patches of bushland where they can be protected and where they have less competition. We're also, in some of those areas we call the remnant areas, we're dealing with the threats. So we're dealing with the weeds and we're protecting them from grazing from animals, and we're helping them to naturally regenerate. So taking away that competition so that they can seed and they can get their own seedlings coming up. And that's a really important thing to make those natural areas really resilient and strong. We're also doing some other things looking at the genetics of the species. So this one's a really interesting plant because it doesn't only grow from seed, it also sends out these runners. And some of these runners, these vegetative runners, can go up to 20 metres from the adult plant. So you can have a patch where you might have 100 plants, but they might all be from the one adult plant. So genetically, they're all exactly the same. So that means that every single plant in that cluster of up to 100 plants could be exactly identical. So they're like clones. It's pretty cool. But they can live independently. So looking at the genetics of those plants in different areas is really important for us to understand not only how many individual plants there are, but how much diversity is across the area that they occur. So there are so many ways that you can get involved with helping not only the silver daisy bush but other threatened plants in your local area. By being involved in this program, the Precious Plant for the Precious Mum is a really great start. So you can get to learn about this threatened species and what its needs are. You can also get to learn about areas around you. You might have a patch of bushland on your property, and you may be able to help look after that area by going and visiting it and seeing what sort of threats are around and looking after that patch. Get involved with one of your local conservation groups and help them with planting or protecting areas.